Thanks everyone for being here this afternoon. I'm Katie Greenleaf Martin from the Pennsylvania Integrated Library System. And today my colleague Natalie Arnold and I are going to be talking to you about all things Aspen. We are excited to share what some of our libraries have been doing with it so far and answer all your questions. Since this presentation is being recorded, please note that if you have your camera on or you choose to unmute, you will be recorded and it will get posted to YouTube. We will have Q&A time at the end. You can certainly post questions in the chat. And we will turn off the recording so that if there's anybody who wants to unmute or turn their video on but doesn't want to be recorded, they will have an opportunity to do that. So to get started, Natalie, if you can flip slides here. Just a quick reminder that we could not do the work that we do without the support of the Library Services and Technology Act funding that we receive through the Office of Commonwealth Libraries. It is directly funding the libraries who are choosing to come onto Aspen in the next couple years. And we're really excited both about our partnership with them for that funding, as well as our partnership with Equinox Open Library Initiative that provides our hosting for our Aspen installation. What we're going to do today is I'm doing my introduction speech right now, and I'm going to give a quick little spiel about pricing. We do have a full video breaking down pricing scenarios, as well as a page on our support desk that talks about it in detail. So if we have time at the end, I'll go back through and run through some specific scenarios that I've prepared, or I can run individual scenarios for people if you want me to. But at the beginning, I'm just going to kind of introduce what we're doing with the grant incentives that we have this year. Then Natalie is going to take us through a demo and see some of the exciting Aspen features. And then we've got a comparison chart for you to look at the various products that we're using now, what we're going to have available, and what has what. And then we'll talk about the timeline and resources, and then have lots of Q&A time. So we can keep going. Just a reminder, introduction-wise, that we did decide to move away from Chili Pack, and we will be doing that sometime before the end of November in 2026. That is the end of our paid subscription. And so for anyone who wants to keep their standard membership package, they'll move over to the Evergreen OPAC. We did just a refresher demo of that last week to kind of show people there isn't a lot of difference. The URLs will change. That's the biggest impact for our libraries. And there will be some slightly different workflows like uploading cover art, but we think overall it's actually an improvement. But the other thing that we're starting to offer, and we had 2 pilot libraries that you'll be able to see some of their pages today that did this in 2025, is to start offering the Aspen Discovery layer. And what Aspen offers is a whole ton of other functionality that the Evergreen OPAC doesn't have to bring your library services together in one website and show everyone all your patrons, all the different things that you're doing, from physical content to electronic content to events, and kind of unify it, which is why it's called the Discovery layer. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is to give people a sense of what you get for that additional cost if you do elect to move over to Aspen Discovery. All right, so I'm not going to go into detail on this. It is laid out really fully in our help desk site, and I did a video breaking down some examples, and as I said during Q&A, we can talk more about it. Here is the basic gist. If you elect to migrate to Aspen and you let us know about that decision within certainly this year, and if you're one of the first, I think it's 100 locations, we hope to have space for anyone who wants to go, then you qualify for incentive pricing of a one-time payment of $500 that covers that first partial calendar year that you use it. So whether you go live in 26 or you go live in 27, your first year will be $500, and that's going to cover both your hosting and your implementation. That is a really drastically reduced price over what it would normally cost. And that is a combination of us working with Equinox to be able to batch libraries together and migrate them together, as well as being able to use quite a bit of grant funding to supplement that. Then going forward, that will be supported by member fees. And there is a formula that you can go through based on the number of access points that you need to the catalog, whether you want just one for your library or one for your library system, or you're in a library system and you want multiple for different locations. And then how many cataloged items you have. There's a tiered structure to that, similar to the tiered structure that we use for our regular member fees. So again, that's all on the website, and I can spend some more time on it at the end if people have questions about that. But what I'd like to primarily focus on today is Aspen itself. And so I will hand it over to Natalie.
Sorry, just had to unmute myself there. All right, let's get the demo started. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. So what I'm going to walk you through is just a demo of the Aspen Discovery layer. And I'm primarily going to be using Indian Valley Public Library as the site since they are live on it. So starting off, just looking at the homepage that we're here, you can see that the interface is customizable. You can see Indian Valley Public Library. They have their logo, they have their hours and phone number. The menu links at the top are all determined. They determine what they'd like to have listed there. Everything in terms of colors, all of that. That's a huge thing with Aspen, is that it's very customizable to your needs. The next thing you can see here are what we refer to as carousels. It's that same functionality as in Evergreen and ChiliPack. Just the difference is with Aspen, they are called browse categories now instead of carousels. But same functionality as the carousels, you can pull in the browse categories and have them be automatic. So anytime you're adding, say, new adult fiction, like here, or new adult fiction, it will automatically update the list for you. You can also manually create browse categories. If you, say, have a reading list you'd like for your patrons to view, you can do that, create a list yourself, and then have that list become a browse category. And same functionality for the search box. You have your search box here, the options for how to search. You can see you have keyword, title, start a title series, and so on. Advanced search is available. It's just at the bottom of the options here. And then the next option is where the user would like to search. So it defaults to searching the library catalog, but you could also search if you're only looking for online items. Patrons can select to view just an online collection. You can also, if you have events listed in Aspen, which is one of the features of Aspen, is that you can incorporate your library events directly into the discovery layer. And then lastly, if you have created lists, you could also, patrons can search specifically within lists. So just to start off, let's do a quick search. And we'll search for James Patterson. So you can see here, James Patterson, we have over 1,000 hits for the search. Right at the top here, it does break it down according to format for patrons to easily see how many of each format the library does have. The patron can also do that over on the left side here, where we have the facets as well. And while I'm talking about facets, we can just review those quickly. So break it down by fiction or nonfiction, reading level, e-content collection as well. So if patrons are just searching the library catalog but want to only see what they have available for Hoopla, they can do that right here. Another option is for branch. Since Indian Valley is a single location, it just lists their library here. But if you are part of a library system or a group of libraries, you can have it so that each library or branch is individually listed so that patrons can search the holdings at a specific library.
Events and
Um,
stuff in the
and just going to point out one other feature that is that I think is really great is it has an added in the last. So if patrons want to narrow their search results just down to something that's been added within the past week, they can do so just by clicking on the link, and then it breaks it down and only shows those items. Let me just go back to the search results. All right, now let's take a look at an actual search result that we get. So for the first result we get here, you can see we have the title information, author, series language. The great thing with Aspen is that it groups formats together. So the search result for All American Murder, rather than seeing the 4 separate search results for one for book, one for audiobook, and then electronic resources all separate, it groups it all into one. So you can see here that Indian Valley does own the book, and it's currently on the shelf, and that it's available, and it gives you the call number right there. The patron has the option to place the hold directly right from this page. And then looking down a little bit, you can also see that the library has a copy of the e-audio book, and that they can borrow it from Libby. And the same goes with the Kindle version in Libby, and also that they have it in Hoopla as an ebook and Libby as an ebook. So what this does is it has an API integration. So what that means is with Overdrive and Hoopla, so it's pulling real-time data from those databases directly into Aspen. So the patrons can see real-time information. Is this item available right away? Or is it checked out? So if the patron wanted to get this one as an ebook on Hoopla, they can click check out Hoopla, and it will take them to an authentication page. It will block users who are not, who shouldn't be authenticated to be able to check out those items. Only patrons who have the correct permissions will be able to use those electronic resources from the library. Let me scroll down so I can find one that is currently unavailable. This is a currently unavailable book in the library. So when it is unavailable, if you click where is it, it will tell you how many copies the library owns, where it would be located, where they can find it. And okay, great. So for the e-audiobook, it appears it should typically will show a how many items, how many patrons are waiting for it. So this one, no one is waiting for the item, so it does not show how many people are waiting for it in Libby. Okay, I'm going to do another search. Sorry about that, because we'll want one to come up that shows the real-time data. There we go. All right. So for the Woman in Suite 11, this is a good example here. So the e-audio book on Libby is checked out. You can see that in Overdrive, Indian Valley has 8 copies of this title, and that 43 people are currently waiting on the list. If you are not using Aspen, just as many of us are now, if patrons want to, or staff want to get that information, you have to go separately into Libby or your Overdrive site to see that information. So this is a great thing with Aspen. It's pulling in that data all in one spot where patrons can see if they want to place a hold and how long it potentially may be for them to get the item. So if we're interested in this item, let's go ahead and just look at the detailed information for the item. If you click on the book copy, show editions, just going to give you a little bit more of the item information. And if we scroll down, you'll also see the description is available. It also provides more like this reading section for read likes. And it also includes Synthetics Unbound information. So we're going to get awards information, a summary. If it's part of the series, it will provide the series, the books in the series for you. And you can keep scrolling and see more of the information as well. You have professional reviews. Click on subjects and more details, published reviews, so on. So the results are fairly typical to what you would see in Evergreen right now in terms of the Synthetics Unbound. One thing we did notice is that when you're clicking on items in Aspen, it loads fairly quick. So that is a nice little bonus of Aspen, is that it does produce results quicker than typically an evergreen or chili pack. And just an example of this, if you do a blank search, that will, oh, and now I do it and it doesn't come up quickly. Okay, that's fairly quick. But typically it would take a lot longer if you did a blank search for it to come up. So let's move on to events. As I stated before, you can incorporate your events directly into Aspen so that patrons who are searching the catalog can also learn about your event directly in the catalog rather than always having to go only through your website to find that event information. So if a patron were looking for, let's say, yoga books, the items or yoga items, they would get the books and audiobooks, et cetera, in your collection. But then there's also this Explore More section that is available that shows the events that the library is holding that is correlated to yoga. So if you click on, let's click on the hop, skip, and jump, and it'll provide more information about the event itself. You get the date, time, the location, the description. You can add a illustration as well for it. And there is also integration for some event platforms. For example, if you click on registration information, the Aspen event platform is what Indian Valley uses. And then you can incorporate the registration information directly in so the patron can register right here rather than having to go to the website or call the library, however you do handle your event registration. So this is just another great example of what is new that Aspen brings that we can make it easier for your patrons to find out the services that your library provides. Another option that we have with Aspen is what is referred to as, it's called placards. So placards is essentially like advertisements, I guess you can say. So if someone is looking for, let's say, consumer reports, or they want to get a product rating on something. So if we just do a search for product ratings, there are some databases that may have a direct integration, and then there are some that do not. So for those that don't, such as consumer reports here, you can create a placard so that not only the items that come up that are produced from this keyword search, you can have the consumer reports database advertised right at the top of the search results. And if the patron clicks on that placard, it will then take them to the sign-in page to access the consumer reports with their barcode information. Okay, and you can also use, besides consumer reports or databases, you can use placards for other things, such as like while you wait, staff read-alike lists. You can advertise events such as upcoming author talks. You can be creative with how you'd like to use that space to provide more information for your patrons. Okay, another thing I will show you, which I'm actually going to switch over to our Pales installation of Aspen. So if another option within Aspen is something called Web Builder. Web Builder, it provides libraries the ability to, you can add custom pages in Aspen, it allows you to create forms. You can also even use it to build a website if you need to revamp your website. You can also do polls. So you can use it for your patron self-registration form. If you have patrons do online, fill out an online form to get a card, you can use it for that. We also, I'll show you an example of a poll. So if you're interested in getting patron feedback on possibly a new service you want to offer your library, or just any kind of customer feedback you're looking for, you can create a poll within Aspen and have patrons, users fill it out. You can then have an option to whether you want the patrons to view the information so they can view results, which is really nice. You have a bar chart. It also gives you the data output. So it kind of builds that like customer interaction with your patrons, which is always a great way to uh, boost usage and just that interaction. Excuse me. And while I am on this site as well, I forgot to show everyone the My Account. So when the patron is logged in, you can either click on the patron, your name, and then it gives you the listing of all the options for My Account. You can also click in the the hamburger lines here, and let's just go quickly into our account. And you'll see here, if I haven't been very active in the Pales account here, but if you had any checked out titles, anything overdue, on hold, or ready for pickup, it will have it listed here for you. You can also see if a patron has any assigns, any titles that are recommended. Patrons themselves can create lists. So any lists that they do have can be found under My Account. I have 2 here for new fiction and new nonfiction. Also, a patron can opt in to have their reading history saved. I have not done that yet, but if I wanted to, I just click that. And that's as simple as it is. Then it will start keeping track of a patron's reading history. Another nice thing with reading history is that Aspen provides, and this is customizable if your library wants to choose to do it or not, it provides a year-end review. So if patrons do have their reading history turned on and they have at least 5 items within that reading history, it will produce a year-end review so they can see exactly how many items they have read in the past year. It's just a nice little bonus, I think, that you can produce directly from Aspen. And then lastly, just a brief look at Aspen administration. There is a lot in Aspen administration. As we stated before, it's highly customizable. Libraries have a lot of control over what they can do. For example, if you wanted to add a new menu link at the top here, rather than needing to open a support ticket for us to take care of that for you, which of course we will always continue to do that if you prefer to do have us do that for you, that's not a problem. But you have the option to do that yourself now. So we can, let's see. Okay, here somewhere. Sorry. As you can see, as I scroll, the search box here is very helpful, but you do have to get the right terminology. But if we scroll down, I believe it's under primary config library systems. There are many options. Okay. I'm just going to bring up our instance here. And scrolling down, sorry for the quick scrolls, but here is where we find the menu links. So if we wanted to add, if I wanted to go ahead and add a new link to contact Spark support, I would just click add new. Add the wording. Just add the URL that we want it to direct to and fill out the remaining. You can also, and this will be the next thing I get to. You can have it just to display on the Aspen Discovery, meaning the website. There is an app for Aspen, so you can also determine whether you want the menu link to display only on the app or both. For right now, we're just going to leave it at that. And then we just need to click the save button. And now when it refreshes, you can see there's our contact Spark support. And I put the wrong link in. Sorry. Let's see. Let me get that link again. Oh, that's why. Fix that. Fingers crossed. Works this time. There we go. So it's as simple as that to edit the menu at the top. There are other, like I said, really customizable. So there's so many more things that you can edit, and it is fairly straightforward to do that. But always, we are here, Spark Support, to help in any customization needs that you may have. And lastly, I did mention that there is an app available. It is the Spark Library Discovery app. And if you look in, it's available in the Apple and Google Play stores. If you search right now, it is available. You can check that out. And then here I will just try to show you what it would look like in different instances. There we go. Okay, so right now, looking at it, if we are on an iPhone, it's essentially just a responsive. So it's going to look fairly the same. Oh, let's go to home. So we're not in the admin.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, you can use the admin from a mobile device. We don't.
Thanks, Katie.
Just because it gets real scrolly.
So, yep, it would do the same functions for searching, same options as you have on the website. You can see here, you get the browse categories. If you click on one of let's see, let's click on this one. You get the title information. You can click more info. So you can see it just provides it provides the same information just within the mobile app. So I'm going to get out of that. And that is the demo I had planned for us today. I'm curious if there are any questions anyone has.
Feel free to put questions in the chat and I will read them out. Or if you are okay with being recorded, please feel free to unmute yourself and or turn on your video.
And as questions may be coming in, I will go ahead and just go over, there we go, the features comparison. So we have this comparison chart between Evergreen and Aspen. The features on the left here you can see, and for the most part, everything that's in Evergreen will be in Aspen, plus more in Aspen. So you could take some time to look at that, if you're still wondering, which direction you'd like to go to, whether it's the Evergreen OPAC or Aspen. This chart may help you in determining that. And then I'm also going to, there is a link which I'll drop in the chat in a bit that takes you to our Spark support knowledge base, which has another comparison chart as well. I'll just drop that link so everyone has that readily available. And briefly, just to go over the timeline of the whole project, we're right now demoing Aspen, and we did the stock Evergreen OPAC demo last week. Coming up for a good chunk of mid-year is when we're going to be migrating libraries who choose to go to Aspen and doing training for them. And then when it's September through November, where we'll be preparing for the next Spark Evergreen upgrade. We will also be preparing for Evergreen stock rollout. Those who choose to go to Aspen will be on Aspen either in 2026 or 2027, as Katie had explained earlier. And then come November, when we do the upgrade, those libraries that do not choose to migrate to Aspen will be moved over to Evergreen OPAC at that point. And lastly, the features comparison chart I had mentioned. This is actually it's the full information about ChiliPack support ending and the options everyone has. I just dropped that into the chat for you. And then here is also, the link for everyone to try out Aspen if you would like for yourselves, just to kind of give it a whirl and check it all out and spend some more time and play around with it. That way you get a feel for it.
We do have some questions, Natalie, if you want to go back over to the catalog.
Okay.
So the first
Go here.
question is about the more like this listings. And the
Okay.
question is, are those going to be pulling from where does that list come from? And I think it's coming from Syndetics, but I am not 100% sure. Elizabeth, do you remember?
I was clicking through and it looked like they were all titles that Indian Valley already owned, but I'm checking the synthetic settings. I'm like 95% sure that's where it's coming from.
That is also all of these are elements that can be turned off for folks on an individual endpoint level if it's not something that people want. But I do believe that the way that works is that it's going to pull from Syndetics and then it's going to filter by what you have holdings for at whatever level your OPAC is scoped to. So in this case, because it's just Indian Valley, it's going to show their holdings. But that would be something that if you need a definitive answer on, then we could certainly do a little bit more research. But then the next question is we don't always get MARC records for ebooks. We need to get records for all items in order for them to show up in Aspen. Natalie, do you want to take this one or do you want me to take this one for more of the cataloging side?
I think I take it, and you feel free to add on or correct or whichever. No, so you will not need to have all the MARC records in Evergreen because since there's an API connection with Overdrive and Aspen, it is pulling directly from the Overdrive database. So there is no need to have any of the Overdrive or Hoopla MARC records in the Evergreen catalog. So you can save some money by not having to pay for the MARC order records from Overdrive. And it just simplifies it. You don't have to worry about the maintenance of updating, removing catalog records, adding them, and so forth. It just pulls everything in real-time data, so you're getting all the items that you have available in your Overdrive collection will now appear in Aspen. It's not only the items that you have MARC records for currently, but you're getting everything that is in your Overdrive collection through that through that API connection.
And sort of collating some questions here, we do have APIs for most major ebook vendors. So Cloud Library, Libby, Hoopla. We haven't done it with Access 360, but I think that it's available. Some of the ones that we don't have available are going to be Canopy. So Canopy doesn't have an API, and so that's one where you would be side loading the MARC records. The nice thing about Aspen is that for resources where you do need to get MARC records, whether it's eSebco books or Canopy, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that we have come across that don't have an API integration. You're going to load those MARC records in the Aspen interface itself. You don't have to load them into Evergreen, so you're not having to worry about other people putting their holdings on those records or they're getting concatenated with print records or audio records. That's going to live in Aspen itself, and so it's a lot easier even for places where you do need to go the MARC record route. We don't have for Power Library, we are still working with them on doing some of the integrations. We've got so far we've done a lot of placards for the resources that people want to showcase. There are some more technical issues there in terms of API access because there are so many people who use Power Library, and so getting access to the APIs to load the some of the individual holdings has been tricky. So we can sideload, we can do placards, and the other thing that we're working on right now is loading the OAI PMH data from PA photos and documents so that people can also search either all of PA photos and documents, or a subset, your own kind of collection things. If you have particular things on PA photos and docs that you want your folks to be able to discover through your catalog, we'll absolutely be able to load those and they'll be able to click through directly. So I think I got all the e-resources questions. And this was one, we had two people ask this. And I was trying to remember when Natalie was talking about it because I'd forgotten to look it up before this presentation. Since right in Evergreen, right now you see it in ChiliPack, but it's an Evergreen stock feature that will be maintained for those libraries who are sticking with Evergreen. The Remember Reading History, is that going to, for people who've already opted in Evergreen, are we going to be able to re-opt them in? Or are they going to be starting, are they going to have to opt in again and start fresh with a new reading history, or are we able to bring that over?
It comes over.
Comes
It
over.
Yeah. It's if you started in Evergreen, it will continue in Aspen.
Perfect.
If you turn it off in Evergreen, you then have to turn it on in both again. So part of the migration process is everybody who's turned on will stay turned on.
So we will vacuum that out of Evergreen as part of the migration and preset that setting for folks. Okay, perfect. So you're opting in via the public catalog, just like you are now. And this is one of the reasons that we really recommend that anybody in a shared library card environment all move together, because then if you had a split library system where some people are using Aspen and some people aren't, you get things that aren't going to sync, like that opt-in, opt-out of the reading history. But the good news is it will come over for anybody who's already enabled it in the past. We have a question too about changing any cataloging practices. The short answer is pretty much no. We are going to be delving into this in much more depth in the user group meetings, specifically the cataloging user group meeting. One thing, and we talked about this last week at the Evergreen demo, is if you've been uploading cover art via ChiliPack, you will need to start using the Evergreen cover art uploader instead. And we'll let people know when they need to make that transition. You can make the transition anytime. And then that cover art will sync over to Aspen. So you'll do it once in Evergreen and you won't have to look at it again. We're working on some development for that right now. So if you have been doing that as part of ChiliPack, that's something that will need to change. That has to do not with Aspen, but with the fact that we're moving away from ChiliPack. The custom cover art functionality there remains there. We will be bringing over all the existing custom cover art. There are some things that we're for how things display. The cataloging committee may end up making some changes to procedures and best practices to make sure that the things are going to display well in Evergreen and in Aspen. But we have not encountered anything to this point where for physical materials, people need to change the way they catalog at all to have it display properly in Aspen. Obviously, the e-resources side is handled through Aspen, so that's different. So the answer to the question is, will we need to have any cataloging practices? So far, no changes for physical item processing. And Elizabeth and Natalie, interrupt me if I'm missing anything. But we certainly haven't changed any of our Evergreen cataloging documentation so far. For e-resources and for cover images, there will be some changes.
Aspen has a more nuanced formats, so it'll be able to so instead of it just displaying like a DVD, it'll be able to say this is a 4K Blu-ray, or this is a PlayStation game, or this. So we do have that on our documentation page now, and we'll flush that out as we go. But for the most part, major things, we haven't seen anything. There are some instances where the overdrive record adds lovely flourishes in the 245 for titles. So like if you look at a romance title, sometimes it adds like the trope information for some reason. So it'll be like heated rivalry, and it'll be like lovers or haters to lovers or whatever, and it'll add like a whole extra sentence, which is not the title. And it won't group properly. And so some adjustments to the record that was imported via Overdrive might need to be adjusted. But there are ways to group items or force items to group together. And you would pick the lead record. So
Yeah, so there are definitely some more features in Aspen when you're bringing over when it does the API sync, you can have some flexibility with editing that data, as well as obviously if you're sideloading things, and then there will be some optional things that catalogers may choose to do, like the grouped works, making sure that the series are displaying how they want to. Um, and dealing with any extra enriched content, shall we say, from our wonderful e-content vendors. Those aren't going to be mandatory, but they may be helpful for a little bit of an extra nudge on easing discovery for patrons. Excellent questions. I hope I got to all the ones that were in the chat. If I didn't get to yours, please feel free to repost it, but I think that I addressed everything that everybody brought up. Natalie, will you show the Adams Aspen page real fast? One of the things that we didn't show, and I know we have a lot of people here from library systems, so I did want to show Adams is a little bit different because they are a consolidated system, and so it's not going to be the same as some of our federated systems, how they're going to want to do things, as well as some of our library groups kind of decide to go to this together. But if you just do a search so we can see the facets, the way that they have elected, Adams County has elected to do it, and this is how they were with Evergreen and with Chili Pack as well, was to have one endpoint. So you come to adams.discovery.sparkba.org, no matter which location you're going to end up wanting to search. They, on that left side, right where Natalie's cursor is, because she's anticipating my next thing, you can then narrow that search by, they use the B word, as I say, the branch. We can change that to library for anyone who doesn't want that particular, in this case, that language does represent their consolidated library system, but that wouldn't for a lot of our clients. And so then you can narrow that down per library. And then one of the things that it would be a little small, but because that the link does change, you can link people to a search that's going to be a search just for a single branch. So there's only one OPAC entry point for Adams, but if you wanted to have a way to link people to a search that would default to just Littlestown, that's certainly something that you can do. So for in-library OPACs, for things that may be sending out to patrons, you can send them to a page that's going to default them to a single location. I'm trying to think of any other things that would be different about library systems. I think that's the big one, is just doing the faceting. Obviously, if it were a library system that would choose to have those multiple entry points the way that many people have in Evergreen, then you could have your own branding and stuff on those pages. It's just a choice of setup, and then it also affects the ongoing cost. Oh, good question. So, and I was going to bring this up, and thank you, Cheryl, for bringing it up. For people who are in resource sharing groups, which is a lot of you, does it matter if everybody in the resource sharing group migrates to Aspen or not? It absolutely does not. We know already that we are going to have I think some people from each of our resource sharing groups who are in Aspen and some who are in Evergreen. Now, if Natalie wants to walk through the place hold workflow in Aspen, we can do it. But because just like with ChiliPack, all of the actual who can place a hold on what is handled via the Evergreen side, that's all going to be the same. There's going to be no changes there. It doesn't matter which catalog your hold came in through. And the other thing that we're going to be able to do is right now, if you want to search the library scoping groups in the staff catalog or in the patron catalog, you have to do them individually. You have to, if you're in multiple groups, you have to do one and then do the other one. So for where I am here in Hollidaysburg, I could search the district, the library district that I'm in, because they have a resource sharing agreement, or I could search the multi-regional group that the Blair County Libraries are in, but I can't search them both at the same time. With Aspen, we're going to be able to have that just seamlessly have all the locations all in one search. And then what we're still working on, because this is a new thing for Aspen, is to make sure that we can have it be that you can search if you want just your location, just your library system, as opposed to all of the other library systems, making sure that Aspen can definitely do it, but making sure that visually it's obvious for patrons how they need to do it. So that's one of the things that is going to be the same. The other thing that we're doing as a consortium, and that we're able to do because we do have grant support, is that Aspen, even though not everyone is going to use Aspen, we are going to index the entire database. So even though I'm going to pick on somebody, Juniata County, who has decided that they're staying with the Evergreen OPAC. Well, they're not in a resource sharing group though. So I didn't pick a good one. If we had a library who's in a resource sharing group, they're staying with the Evergreen OPAC, their holdings are still going to be available in Aspen because there are other libraries that resource share with them. So we are going to have the whole catalog available. It won't be accessible via any one endpoint because we don't have consortium-wide resource sharing, but you won't have any problems with displaying holdings or displaying historical transactions with resource sharing partners, because all of that is going to be loaded in on the back end. So what we are recommending is that if you have a shared library card, so in Blair County, they all use the same library card. You get a Blair County card, the notices are consistent, things like that. We're recommending that all of the libraries who have a shared card make the same choice. So, and the reason for that is, as Cheryl points out, we don't want to have a different patron experience when they're not anticipating it. Whereas in the case of here where I live in central Pennsylvania, the library district does have resource sharing, but they don't have a shared card. So when people go to Huntingdon County or Bedford County, they're not expecting to have the same catalog experience that they have in Blair County because they have a different library card, they have a different library account. So we do recommend that, and Somerset County is, I know Cheryl and I will need to have a conversation about Somerset County because there are some unique things there, but in the case of Somerset County, I would stay with the unit at which you're issuing the library cards. So while you have resource sharing with Bedford and Cambria counties, you can make a decision independent of what they decide to do in terms of going or staying. So that's the level at which I would be worried about it in terms of patron experience. I would not be worried about it for resource sharing. That should be completely seamless. I think I got all the layers of that, and I hope I made sense. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.